The smell hit them first. Burnt oil, wet ash. Something metallic and wrong drifting through the rain. 12 bikers were cruising down Route 19, heading home from a charity run, chrome slick with mist, engines purring low. It was supposed to be an easy ride. Then Jax Mercer lifted his hand. One signal and a dozen taillights flared red. They all saw it now. A thin black column of smoke twisting up from the tree line like a signal flare. Too close to the road, too fresh to ignore. Pull over, Jax ordered through the comms. His voice was calm, steady, the kind of steady you trust when everything else starts to burn. The convoy peeled to the shoulder. Boots hit gravel. Rain whispered through the pines as they made their way down the embankment. And there it was. A truck, or what was left of one. The frame twisted, hood melted, the front cab still hissing with dying flames. Someone had tried to put the fire out, you could tell. Wet branches tossed over the hood, a jacket soaked and thrown against the glass. Leon, second in command, stepped closer. Engine's cold. This thing's been here for hours. But Jax wasn't looking at the truck. He was looking at the ground. Footprints. Deep ones, running ones. And right there in the mud, a man's wallet, half burned, half buried. He picked it up, thumbed it open. The ID inside was singed but readable. Marcus Hale, address local, mechanic's license. Someone lived through this, Jax murmured. Big Mike, the quiet one, knelt by the door and pried it open with a grunt. The interior groaned. A puff of black smoke rolled out, stinging their eyes. Inside, just ash, shattered glass. And a folded scrap of paper wedged between the steering wheel and the dashboard. Jax eased it free. The paper was half burned at the edges, but the handwriting was clear. Dark, pressed, desperate. Tell my daughter I tried. The rain suddenly felt colder. Jax's jaw flexed. Leon looked away. No one spoke. They'd seen wrecks before. But this wasn't just an accident. This was a man's final message. Search the area, Jax said quietly. He might have made it out before it caught. They spread out, flashlights cutting through the mist. The woods felt endless, dripping branches, leaves slick with soot. Somewhere a dog barked in the distance, then went quiet. After a few minutes, Leon's voice came over the comm. Nothing but tire tracks. Looks like somebody else left here fast. Jax's frown deepened. Someone else? Yeah, Leon said. 2 sets of prints. One heavy, one lighter, heading back toward the road. He turned the note over in his hand again, water dripping from his gloves. Tell my daughter I tried. It wasn't just a goodbye. It sounded like an apology. The rain thickened, pattering harder against the metal frame. Jax looked inside again. The melted dashboard, the empty passenger seat, the faint outline where something small had been sitting before it burned away. Maybe a photo. Maybe a keepsake. Let's get the cops here, Big Mike said, rubbing his neck. This is crime scene material. Yeah, Jax said softly. But something tells me they already had their shot at this man. Leon looked at him. You think he was running? Jax shook his head. No. I think he was trying to fix something that broke, and the world didn't let him. He turned back toward the road, the rain washing soot off his jacket. Bag the note. We'll wait for the sheriff. As they climbed the hill, the truck crackled one last time, a weak groan of metal giving in. The flames hissed out completely, leaving only steam and silence. Jax paused at the top. He looked back one more time, toward that lonely blackened shape by the trees. A man's last stand. A father's unfinished promise. He didn't know why yet, but something in his gut told him this wasn't over. And when the Iron Hawks felt that kind of pull, they didn't walk away. Cut to later that night. A small diner off Route 19. The bikers sit in a corner booth, rain still dripping from their leather jackets. The waitress pours coffee without asking. The kind of coffee that's been sitting on the burner all day. Cops say it was an accident, Leon mutters. Guy fell asleep at the wheel, truck caught fire, end of story. Jax doesn't look up. He's staring at the note again, flattened on the table beside the half-burned wallet. End of story, he says quietly. That's what they said about my brother when they found him in the river. Sometimes The story they tell ain't the real one. He folds the note carefully, slides it into his vest pocket, and finishes his coffee. Tomorrow, he says, standing. We find the daughter. The bell above the diner door jingles as they leave. Outside, the rain's stopped, but the smell of smoke still lingers in the air. A story had ended in those woods, but another was just beginning. The next morning, the rain had turned to mist. Route 19 looked almost peaceful again, like the fire had been a bad dream that washed away overnight. But Jax Mercer didn't believe in that kind of forgetting. He stood by the charred truck, hands in his jacket pockets, watching two deputies take lazy photos. One yawned. The other checked his phone. "Morning," Jax said. The older deputy looked up. "Morning. You with the cleanup crew?" "No," Jax said, voice calm. "I'm the guy who found it." The deputy nodded like that didn't matter. "Appreciate it. We'll file the report. County'll tow it off before noon." Jax's eyes narrowed. "You read the note?" "What note?" "The one in the cab." He waited. The deputy frowned, muttered to his partner, then disappeared around the wreck. A minute later, he came back, empty-handed. "Didn't see no note." Jax's jaw tightened. "You sure about that?" The deputy shrugged. "If there was one, it's gone now." "Rain probably took it." Rain doesn't take folded paper out of dashboards, Jax thought. But he said nothing. Just nodded once, sharp, and turned away. Leon was leaning on his bike, watching. "They already buried it, huh?" "Yeah," Jax said. "Someone doesn't want this story told." Leon squinted toward the highway. "So what's our play, boss?" "We find his daughter," Jax said simply. He left her that note for a reason. They started in town. Cedar Falls was one of those places that still had a main street. Barber shop, hardware store, diner, church steeple stabbing the sky. Everyone knew everyone, and outsiders carried the weight of being noticed. Jax parked his Harley in front of the post office and walked inside. The clerk, a silver-haired woman with kind eyes, froze mid-sentence when she saw his vest. "Iron Hawks," she murmured. "Haven't seen that patch since 8 years," Jax said gently. "We've been clean that long, ma'am." She nodded slowly, then glanced at the ID he placed on the counter, the burnt one they'd recovered from the wreck. "Marcus Hale," she read. "I know the name. Used to come by for his daughter's mail. Girl's name was Alana, I think. Sweet kid. She still in town?" The clerk hesitated. "Not sure. They lived out past Mill Creek Road, near the old quarry. Haven't seen her in months." Jax thanked her and turned to leave, but she called after him. "If you find her, tell her I still got that package she ordered last spring." Never came back to get it. The ride to Mill Creek was quiet. No engines roaring this time. Just the soft roll of rubber over gravel and the wind whispering through pines. The Hale place wasn't much. A small farmhouse swallowed by vines and silence. One window boarded up, mailbox hanging by a nail. The front door creaked open when Jax knocked. "Alana Hale?" he called. "Name's Jax Mercer. We're with the Iron Hawks. We found something that belonged to your father." No answer. He stepped inside, slow. The air smelled like dust and damp laundry. There were boxes everywhere, half-packed like someone had been getting ready to run but never finished. On the kitchen table sat a single photo in a cracked frame. Marcus Hale and a girl with curly hair, maybe 16, grinning wide beside a rebuilt pickup. "The same truck that burned. Boss?" Leon called from outside. "Got something." Jax followed him to the barn. The doors were half open, chain broken. Inside, tools scattered across the floor, wrench sets, stripped wires, an overturned toolbox. Leon pointed to the wall. There was a message scrawled across the wood in black marker. "If they come asking, don't tell them where I went." And below it, a second line, in smaller, shakier handwriting. "I didn't." Jax exhaled slow. The first was Marcus. The second, Alana. "She's scared," Leon said quietly. "Or being hunted," Jax replied. He walked deeper into the barn, scanning the shadows. Something caught his eye near the back, an old tarp covering what looked like a motorcycle frame. He lifted it. Underneath was a pristine Harley, half restored, gas tank freshly painted, Across the side, in careful white letters, it read, "To my girl. One day we ride." For a moment, Jax didn't move. He just stared at it, throat tight. Marcus Hale hadn't been running from his daughter. He'd been trying to get back to her. By evening, they were back at the diner. Rain had started again. Soft this time, steady. The kind of rain that fills silences. Jax sat at the corner booth, staring at the photo they'd found. Leon was pacing. "So what, boss? The cops lose the note, the daughter disappears, and we're supposed to do their job for 'em?" "We're not doing their job," Jax said, voice low. "We're doing what's right." He tapped the edge of the photo. Marcus worked at Blackridge Auto before it went under. Last pay stubs dated 3 weeks ago. If she came looking for him, someone there saw her. Leon sighed, nodding. "You know this is how it always starts, right? One missing person turns into a war before we even blink." Jax leaned back, eyes hard but steady. "If it does, then we fight it the same way we always have, with truth, not bullets." The waitress brought their coffee, gave them a wary smile. "Y'all still chasing that story from last night?" Jax looked up. "What did you hear?" She hesitated, then leaned closer. "My cousin works dispatch. Said the call about that fire came in late, almost an hour after the truck was spotted smoking." Leon frowned. "Who called it in?" She shrugged. "Anonymous. Payphone at the old quarry." The same place Alana's house backed up to. Jax's eyes met Leon's. "She didn't run far," he said. "She's still close." That night, the Ironhawks rode out again. No music, no laughter. Just 12 headlights cutting through fog like searchlights. They reached the quarry near midnight. The rain had stopped. The woods were silent, too silent. Jax dismounted, scanned the tree line with his flashlight. And then he saw it. Small footprints in the mud, barefoot, leading toward an old storm drain built into the hillside. "Leon," Jax said quietly. "Tell the boys." "We found her trail." He stepped closer, heart thudding. Inside the drain, something glinted, a reflection of light off metal. Jax crouched down, reached in carefully, and pulled it free. A locket, half open. Inside was a photo. Marcus and Alana again, arms wrapped tight, smiling like the world was still good. On the back, etched faintly, were the words, "For when you feel lost, just listen for the engines." Jax's throat tightened. He turned to Leon, voice barely a whisper. "She's calling for us." The beam of Jax's flashlight shook slightly as he crouched near the opening. Cold mist rolled from the tunnel, wet concrete, rust, and the faint scent of smoke. Leon's voice cut through the quiet. "Boss, you sure about this?" Jax nodded. "If she's down there, she's scared. She hears us shouting. She runs deeper." He holstered his gun, unclipped his vest, and handed it to Leon. "Stay up here. If anything moves in those trees, you sound off." Leon frowned. "You going in alone?" "Yeah," Jax said. "I won't scare her that way." The tunnel swallowed the light after 10 feet. The walls narrowed, dripping with condensation. His boots splashed softly in the shallow water as he moved forward, slow and careful. "Alana?" he called gently. No answer, just the hollow echo of his own voice, then faintly up a shuffle. A breath that wasn't his. Jax stopped, listened, waited. "I'm not a cop," he said softly, the words echoing off stone. "I knew your dad. We found your truck." A pause. Then, from somewhere in the dark, a whisper cracked the silence. He said not to trust them. Jax turned the flashlight toward the sound. The beam landed on a small figure, crouched against the far wall, thin, trembling, eyes wide. Mud streaked her face, her hair matted with rain. Alana Hale. She flinched at the light, raising her hands. "Don't, please, I didn't do anything." "I know," Jax said, lowering the beam. "You're safe now." "No one's safe," she whispered. They followed him. "They'll come for me next." Jax inched closer, slow. "Who, Alana? Who followed your father?" Her chin quivered. "The men from the yard? The ones who made him fix things that weren't broken." Outside, Leon's radio crackled. "We've got movement, boss," he warned. Static. Then silence. Jax's jaw tightened. "Leon, say again?" No reply. only the low hum of rain dripping from the mouth of the tunnel. He turned back to Alana. "Listen to me. You have to come with me, now." But she shook her head violently. "No, they know where I am. He told me to stay hidden until it was over." "Your dad's gone, sweetheart," Jack said quietly. "The fire!" She looked up suddenly, eyes blazing through her tears. "It wasn't an accident." The words hit like a thunderclap. "What do you mean?" "They burned it," she said. "He found something at the shop, something in the ledgers. He said Blackridge wasn't just fixing cars. They were moving something else inside them." "Drugs?" Jax asked. She shook her head, whispering. "Not drugs. Parts." Outside, the rumble of engines shattered the quiet. Leon's voice came through the static, urgent. "Boss! We got company. 2 trucks, no plates." Jax cursed under his breath. "Time to go." He reached for Alana, but she froze. "They'll kill you too." He met her eyes, steady, unflinching. "Maybe, but not tonight." He took her hand. They ran. The echo of footsteps thundered through the drain as beams of light swept across the tunnel mouth behind them. A voice shouted, rough and angry, "There! Get them!" Bullets sparked off the concrete, ricocheting like angry wasps. Jax shoved Alana ahead, diving behind a support beam as fragments of rock sprayed across his arm. Leon's shotgun boomed outside, a 1, 2, 3 deafening blasts. "Go!" Jax yelled. "Run to the bikes!" They burst out of the drain into chaos, headlights cutting through fog, bikers shouting, the smell of burning diesel thick in the air. One of the trucks spun sideways across the gravel, blocking the road. A man leaned out the passenger window, rifle raised. Jax grabbed Alana and rolled behind a fallen log as bullets tore into the trees. Leon gunned his Harley and skidded sideways, firing again. The blast shattered the truck's windshield. "The gunman dropped! Get her out of here!" Leon roared. "I'll cover you!" Jax pulled Alana onto the back of his bike. "Hold on tight and don't look back." He twisted the throttle. The Harley roared to life, tires spitting mud and rain as they tore down the road. Behind them, gunfire faded into the night. 10 miles later, they stopped at an abandoned gas station. The sign read Crosby's Fuel, closed since '09. Jax killed the engine and turned to her. "You okay?" She nodded weakly, still shaking. You didn't have to save me." He looked away, jaw clenched. "Didn't have a choice." Silence settled between them, heavy but human. Then Alana reached into her jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Water-stained, edges burned. "I took this from his things," she said. "Before they found us." Jax unfolded it carefully. It was a shipping manifest, columns of serial numbers, but half of them blacked out. At the bottom, scrawled in Marcus Hale's handwriting, "If I don't make it, tell Jax Mercer the Hawks were right." "It's all connected." Jax froze. "He knew my name," she nodded. "He said you were the only one who could finish what he started." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance again. Leon pulled up a few minutes later, face pale, jacket torn. "They're gone, for now. But they'll regroup." Jax handed him the note. "Not before we find out what connected means." Leon read it, exhaled slow. "You think it's the same network that ran the border jobs?" "I think it's bigger," Jax said. "And I think Marcus Hale died trying to stop it." He turned toward Alana, who sat quietly on the curb, clutching her father's locket. Jax's voice softened. "You said your dad told you to stay hidden. What else did he tell you?" She looked up at him through the mist. "That if I ever met the Iron Hawks," she said, "to trust the engines, not the uniforms." The rain had slowed to a drizzle by morning, but the air still smelled like smoke and fear. The Hawks gathered in the shell of the old gas station, helmets off, steam rising from wet jackets. Leon slammed a map onto the counter. Blackridge Auto's got 3 warehouses off Highway 17. 2 are legit repair yards. Third's listed as storage. No signage, no record. My gut says that's where this started. Jax studied the map in silence. His jaw flexed. Marcus worked there 12 years. If he found something worth dying for, that's where it is. Alana sat nearby, wrapped in a leather jacket that swallowed her frame. She hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. Her eyes were distant, locked somewhere only memory could reach. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but steady. They told him to stop asking questions. Said the trucks were pre-approved shipments. But he didn't believe them. He said the weight didn't match the logs. Leon frowned. Weight? She nodded. He kept saying, engines don't lie. Jax met her gaze. Meaning? He used to weigh every rebuilt engine before and after install, she explained. Said no honest repair job adds 50 extra pounds of metal. Leon whistled low. Smuggling. Has to be. Jax looked down at the manifest again. Those blacked-out numbers suddenly felt heavier, dangerous. We're not calling cops, he said finally. They'll bury this faster than we can blink. Then what's the plan? Leon asked. Jax's voice was calm, but his eyes burned. We go dark. We find proof, and we finish what Marcus started. By noon, the Hawks were rolling. 12 Harleys cutting through back roads like thunder under a bruised sky. The forest thinned, giving way to a chain-link perimeter and a squat warehouse with faded red letters. Black Ridge Auto Parts. Jax signaled. The pack split in two, half circling to the rear, the others cutting engines and crouching behind the fence line. Leon cracked the gate's padlock with a twist of pliers. Quiet as ghosts, he muttered. They slipped inside. The warehouse was dim, rows of half-assembled engines, stacked crates, and the oily stench of gasoline and metal. Somewhere in the distance, a radio hummed an old country tune, muffled under the hum of fluorescent lights. Jax moved toward the nearest crate. Pried it open with his knife. What lay inside wasn't car parts. It was steel casings, small, compact, military grade. Weapons components, Leon swore under his breath. Well, hell, guess we found the extra weight. Before Jax could answer, a voice echoed from the catwalk above. Well, I'll be damned. Marcus wasn't bluffing. They froze. A man stepped out of the shadows, tall, clean-cut, the kind who smelled like money and corruption. His badge gleamed under the light. Sheriff Boyd, Jax growled. Figures, Boyd smirked, cocking his head. You should have stayed out of this, Mercer. That girl's got you chasing ghosts. He lifted a radio. Units, we've got company. Jax's mind raced. They were boxed in, one exit, 2 trucks already blocking the yard outside. Leon, he muttered. Smoke and move. Leon grinned grimly. Copy that. He flicked a flare into a nearby oil drum. Flames hissed to life, licking upward as smoke billowed thick and black. Engines roared. The Hawks moved like wolves through fog. Gunfire erupted. Jax grabbed Alana's hand, pulling her behind a row of tool cabinets. Stay down! Bullets tore through the metal above their heads. Boyd shouted, You think you can outrun the law, boy? You forgot who trained you! Jax clenched his jaw. I didn't forget, he said. I just learned who it really serves. He slammed a wrench into the emergency panel beside him. The sprinkler system kicked on. Water poured from the ceiling, dousing flames and sparks. In the chaos, visibility vanished. Leon, out the back! Jax shouted. The Hawks regrouped near the exit, engines screaming as they burst through the loading gate, scattering debris across the yard. Boyd's men dove aside as a wave of roaring motorcycles stormed past them, water spraying from the tires. They didn't stop until the warehouse was a speck behind them. When they did, Alana broke the silence first. My dad was right, she whispered. They were using his job to ship weapons. Jax nodded grimly. Not just weapons. Military-grade tech. Stuff that disappears between factories and bases, relabeled as auto parts. Leon spit on the dirt. And the sheriff's part of it. Yeah, Jax said. But not just him. Black Ridge runs across 3 states. Boyd's just one cog. He looked at Alana. You still got that note? She handed it over. Jax unfolded it again, tracing Marcus Hale's final words with his thumb. Tell my daughter I tried. He closed his eyes for a moment, the words sinking deep. Then he said quietly, You did more than try, Marcus. You left a trail. That night, they took refuge at an old biker lodge off Route 9, a place no GPS had marked in 20 years. The room smelled like wood smoke and whiskey. Rain drummed softly on the tin roof. Alana sat by the window, watching lightning crawl across the horizon. Jax joined her, setting 2 cups of coffee down. "You holding up?" he asked. She shrugged. I keep hearing his voice. The way he said, "Engines don't lie." I didn't get it then, but now... It feels like he was warning me. Jax nodded slowly. He knew they'd come for him. "He wanted you to find us." She looked at him. "Why you?" Jax stared out the window, voice low. "Because I used to be one of them. The people he was trying to expose." Alana's breath caught.
You?
"I ran freight security for Blackridge before I formed the Hawks," he said. Walked away when I saw what they were really moving. Marcus reached out once, said he had proof, but he didn't trust anyone else. She studied him, understanding dawning in her eyes. "So this isn't just about him?" "No," Jack said softly. "It's about what we all let happen." Leon entered, holding a laptop. "Got something. Pulled the manifest data off that chip you grabbed." He turned the screen toward Jax. "It showed coordinates. One circled in red. Next shipment leaves at dawn," Leon said. "Destination, Redwater Airfield." Jax stood, his decision already made. "Then that's where it ends." He turned to Alana. "You don't have to come." She met his eyes. "Yes, I do." He died trying to stop them. "I won't hide anymore," Jax smiled faintly. "You've got your father's fire." Outside, thunder rolled again, but this time it wasn't a storm. It was 12 motorcycles revving in unison under the pale dawn sky, engines growling like a vow. Justice was coming. The first light of dawn broke over the Redwater Airfield, cold and silver. Fog drifted across the tarmac like ghosts of the planes that once flew from there. Now it was just a graveyard of rusted hangars and forgotten deals, the perfect place to hide something unholy. The road angels parked half a mile away. No engines, no noise, just silence and breath. Jax crouched behind a ridge with Leon and Alana beside him, binoculars pressed to his eyes. 3 trucks idled near Hangar 3. Men in black jackets moved crates under floodlights, their movements sharp and practiced. Leon muttered, "Same crates as before." "They're loading them onto that cargo plane." Jax's jaw tightened. Then Marcus was right to stop them. He turned to the crew. "No hero stunts. We cut their power, get proof, and get out. If it goes loud, you follow my lead. Nobody dies unless they make it happen." The men nodded. This wasn't about glory. It was about justice. They moved like shadows, boots sinking into wet grass. Jax and Leon split toward the power shed, while Alana and 2 others slipped closer to the hangar. Using the fog as cover, Alana's heart hammered in her chest. But her father's voice whispered in her mind, "Engines don't lie." She reached the hangar's side door, slipped inside. It smelled of oil and metal and fear. Rows of crates stood like silent soldiers. Each one stamped with the same false label, reconditioned auto parts. But the side of one was cracked open, revealing not pistons or gears, but assault rifles wrapped in grease paper. Her breath caught. She pulled out her phone, snapping photos as quietly as she could. Outside, the lights flickered, then went black. Leon grinned in the dark. "Power's out!" Jax's voice crackled through the radio. "Move!" Floodlights went dead. The airfield plunged into darkness. Panic rippled through the guards. Flashlights swung wildly. Then, the low, rising growl of 12 motorcycle engines split the silence. The road angels came roaring out of the fog, headlights blazing through smoke and confusion like a wall of thunder. "Road angels!" someone shouted. Gunfire erupted. Sparks danced off steel. Jax gunned his bike straight toward the hangar, tires screaming against wet concrete. He laid the bike sideways, sliding under the rising hangar door, using it as a shield. He came up swinging. One motion, one strike, a guard down. Leon followed with 2 others, tossing a flashbang that lit the room like lightning. "Alana!" Jax called. "Here!" She shouted back from behind a crate. He saw her holding the phone, evidence glowing on the screen. "You got it?" She nodded. "Everything. Serial numbers, labels, photos?" "Good," Jax said, breath sharp. "Now we end it." The sound of boots echoed. Sheriff Boyd appeared in the doorway, a pistol in his hand, and that same smug grin carved into his face. "Well," he said. Guess the outlaws finally picked the wrong fight. Jack stepped forward. You killed Marcus Hale. Boyd's smile didn't flinch. He ran his mouth. I ran him off the road. One less problem. Alana's voice cracked through the air, trembling but fierce. You left him to burn. Boyd's eyes flicked toward her. Should have stayed quiet, girl. You and your old man never knew when to stop asking questions. Jax's fists curled, but Alana stepped out from behind the crate, holding her phone high. I recorded this, she said. The guns, the labels, your confession. You're done. Boyd laughed. That cruel, mocking sound of men who believe they'll never fall. Think anyone's gonna believe a biker and a girl whose daddy died running contraband? You'll be roadkill before sunrise. He raised the gun. Jax moved faster than thought. One kick, one tackle, the pistol flying from Boyd's hand as they crashed into the dirt. Fists landed hard. The fight was ugly, desperate, fueled by every injustice that had led to this moment. Boyd slammed Jax against a crate. You can't stop what you didn't start, he spat. Jax's eyes burned. Maybe not, he growled, but I can finish it. He drove his elbow into Boyd's ribs, twisted free, and knocked him cold with one brutal right hook. The airfield fell silent except for the hum of engines outside and the soft hiss of rain returning. Leon jogged in, blood on his cheek. Cops are on their way. Someone tipped the feds. Not someone, Alana said quietly. Me. Jax looked at her, surprise flickering across his face. I sent the photos before we came in, she said. Dad used to say, you don't wait for justice, you make it move. Jax smiled, pride shining through the exhaustion. He raised one hell of a daughter. They stood together as blue lights began to flash faintly in the distance. The sun broke through the clouds, pale, golden, almost shy, lighting the field where Marcus Hale's truth had finally come to light. By the time the first sirens arrived, the road angels were gone. All that remained was the sheriff in cuffs, the crates of illegal weapons, and a burned note recovered from the wreckage, its edges still black. Its words barely legible. Tell my daughter I tried. Jax watched the sunrise from the side of the highway miles away, engines cooling beside him. Alana stood next to him. The note in her hands. He did it, she whispered. He finally did it, Jax nodded. No, he said softly. You both did. The Redwater airfield was sealed off by sunrise. Yellow tape fluttered in the morning wind, wrapping around twisted metal and broken crates like a warning from fate itself. News vans lined the highway. Reporters with coffee cups and cold eyes talked fast into microphones, spinning a story they barely understood, but the road angels were nowhere to be seen. They'd vanished before the sirens arrived, leaving nothing but tire tracks and questions. Miles away, in a quiet field outside Mason County, 12 bikes stood parked in a perfect half-circle, engines cold, helmets hanging from handlebars. Jax sat on an overturned crate, elbows on his knees, head bowed. Leon handed him a thermos of coffee. You should see what they're saying on the news, he said quietly. They're calling it the Redwater Raid. Sheriff Boyd's in custody. Federal boys found enough weapons to start a small war. Jax didn't respond. His gaze was fixed on the horizon where dawn was burning through the mist. Leon sighed. You did good, brother. We all did we? Jax asked, voice low. Marcus still died alone. A kid still lost her father, and we're still ghosts to everyone we help. Leon chuckled without humor. Ghosts keep people safe, too. Alana stood a few yards away, wrapped in her father's old jacket. The note lay folded in her hands, worn at the edges. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the fire again in the truck, the bridge, her father's face in the smoke. Now she watched the bikers, rough men who'd risked everything for a stranger, and felt something shift inside her. For years she'd carried her father's guilt, his secrets, his silence. But seeing them ride into hell for the truth, it changed the way she saw him. Maybe he hadn't been running. Maybe he'd been fighting, the only way he knew how. A black SUV pulled into the field. Out stepped Special Agent Renee Porter, sharp eyes, dark coat, and a face that looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days. She walked straight to Jax. "You're hard to find," she said. Jax didn't move. "That's the point. You're not under arrest," she said. "Quite the opposite." Leon raised an eyebrow. "That a fact?" Porter nodded. "Your footage, the one your girl Alana sent, it's going to break open a trafficking network we've been chasing for years. Weapons, drugs, even missing persons tied to it. Sheriff Boyd was their shield." Alana stepped closer. "You mean—" "My dad? He was an informant," Porter said softly. "Working with us. He'd been feeding information under the radar, but Boyd found out. We lost contact the night of the fire." The field fell silent. The weight of those words hit like thunder. Jack stood slowly. "So Marcus died trying to stop them," Porter nodded. "And now because of you, his name won't die with the lies." "We'll make sure of that." Alana swallowed hard. Her hands trembled as she held out the burnt note. "Then tell him," she whispered. "Tell him I heard him." "And I believe him." Hours later, after the agents left, the bikers remained. No engines, no orders. Just quiet, the kind that only comes after truth finally lands. Leon spoke first. "So, what now?" Jax took a deep breath, the kind that fills a man's chest after years of holding it in. "Now we ride home." "Home," Leon repeated, almost laughing. "You mean that diner back on Highway 17? The one with the broken neon sign?" "Yeah," Jax said with a small smile. "That's where it started. Seems right that's where it ends." By sunset, the road angels returned to the town that once crossed the street to avoid them. People watched from porches and store windows, some fearful, some grateful, all curious. At the diner, the bell over the door chimed softly. The waitress, the same woman they'd helped months before, froze for half a second, then smiled. "Coffee?" she asked. Jax nodded. "Black. For all of us." They filled the booths, silent but content. The place smelled of bacon and fresh bread, the kind of normal that feels like heaven after too much chaos. Alana joined them at the table, sliding into the seat across from Jax. "You think people will ever know what really happened out there?" she asked. Jax looked out the window, watching the reflection of the road angels' bikes in the fading light. "They don't need to," he said. "As long as you do." The waitress set down a tray of steaming mugs. On the counter behind her, the TV played softly, a news anchor's voice echoing through the room. Officials confirm a major bust today in Mason County, linking a corrupt sheriff to an interstate gun trafficking ring. Sources credit an anonymous tip, believed to come from a local motorcycle club, for leading authorities to key evidence at Redwater Airfield. Leon grinned. "Anonymous tip, huh?" Jax smiled faintly. "Best kind." Outside, the neon sign flickered to life, sputtering between red and gold. Rain tapped lightly on the windows, and for the first time in a long time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. Alana sipped her coffee and whispered, "He'd be proud, you know." Jax looked at her. He already was. 3 weeks later, Mason County started to look different. The same roads that once felt haunted now shimmered with new paint. The same diner that used to whisper rumors now played soft blues on Saturday nights. And the old memorial at mile marker 42, the one people used to ignore, had fresh flowers every morning. Someone had fixed the wooden cross, replaced the weathered photo, and added a rusted motorcycle emblem beneath it. A rusted halo, Leon called it. A symbol for the man who tried, even when the world thought he failed. Alana stood by that memorial one evening, the sun melting into the trees behind her. She wore her father's dog tags around her neck, and her fingers brushed them every time the wind changed. A rumble grew in the distance. She turned and smiled. One by one, the road angels crested the hill, their headlights cutting through the dusk like a procession of saints in steel and chrome. Jax led the line, as always. His jacket bore a new patch, small, unassuming, and stitched with care. It read, "For Marcus, who rode ahead." They parked near the field, engines ticking in the cooling air. No words were needed. The silence between them said everything. Jax walked to the memorial, placed a small metal charm beside the flowers, and stood there a long while. Never knew the man, Leon muttered, but damn if he didn't make me believe in something again. Alana smiled softly. He'd have liked you. All of you. Later they rode back to town, not for vengeance or rescue this time, but for peace. The streets felt lighter, the air clean. People nodded as they passed, not out of fear, but out of quiet respect. At the diner, the neon sign buzzed again. Inside, laughter floated through the open windows, kids playing with crayons, a jukebox humming in the corner. The waitress spotted them and waved. You boys gonna keep my tables full forever? Leon grinned. Depends. You still make that peach pie? She rolled her eyes. Only for heroes. As the night deepened, Jack sat outside on the curb, staring up at the blinking motel sign across the road. Alana joined him, 2 mugs of coffee in her hands. Agent Porter called, she said, handing him one. They're naming Dad in the official report. As a confidential informant who died in service. Jax nodded, eyes distant. He earned that, she hesitated. You could have taken credit. The Bureau offered witness protection. A clean start, he smirked. Ain't my style. Besides, he tilted his head toward the bikes lined up under the diner lights. Some people don't need clean slates. Just second chances, the wind picked up, carrying the sound of laughter and distant thunder. Alana looked at him, voice soft. So what happens now? Jack smiled faintly. Now we ride, he said. Not away this time, just forward. They rose together, engines roaring alive one by one, their lights reflecting off the rain-slick pavement. The town watched as they disappeared down the long stretch of highway, 12 bikes, 1 promise, and a story no one would ever forget. The rusted halo gleamed faintly in the rearview mirror, a reminder that even the broken cans shine when the truth finally finds them. The road stretched open under a bruised purple sky, long and quiet and endless. A single truck stop sign glowed in the distance. Humming in the warm night air, Jax rode up front, the headlights of the road angels fanning out behind him. 12 streaks of light cutting through the dark, engines rumbling like thunder too tired to roar. It wasn't a mission tonight. No one was running. No one was hiding. It was just the road and peace. They pulled into the diner around midnight, the same one where it all began. The place looked different now. Not new, not perfect, just alive. Inside, the walls carried photos of old veterans, town parades, and now a framed picture of a man in a worn denim jacket holding his daughter, Marcus. Beneath it, a brass plate read, "Tell my daughter I tried." The waitress noticed the bikers come in. Her eyes softened. Coffee? She asked. Jack smiled. Yeah, for everyone. The smell of brewing coffee mingled with the sound of rain starting again. Not the storm that once threatened to drown them, but the kind that feels like forgiveness. Alana joined them at the booth, her laughter lighter than before. The road angels didn't talk about the past that night. They didn't need to. Some stories are better carried in silence, like a prayer between brothers who've seen too much and still choose to ride on. When dawn came, the clouds broke open. Sunlight spilled across the highway and the puddles turned gold. Jack stood by his bike, adjusting his gloves, watching the first light catch the chrome. Alana approached quietly. You leaving already? Sun waits for no man, he said, smiling faintly. She handed him something, small, metal, weathered, Marcus's dog tags. But now, hanging from them, a thin silver ring. He'd want you to have this, she said. He never finished his ride. But you did. Jax turned the tag over in his palm. The engraving caught the light. Ride safe. Keep faith. He nodded, voice low. He did finish it, Alana. We just helped him cross the line. The road angels started their engines, the sound rising and folding into the morning air. Farmers stopped on porches, truckers slowed to watch. No one knew exactly what those men had done, only that they'd brought something back to this town that had been missing a long time. Hope. And when they roared off down the highway, it wasn't into darkness, It was toward a sunrise that painted the sky like redemption. The road curved. The sound faded. But the message, the man, the daughter, the promise, lingered. If this story reminded you that real heroes don't need capes, just courage and compassion, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more true-hearted stories like this one. Have you ever met someone who tried their best, even when the world didn't see it? Share their story in the comments below. It might just inspire our next tale of faith and redemption. And for those sharp-eyed viewers, did you catch the moment? Around minute 7:58, when Jax quietly slides something into Alana's hand before she realizes it? Look closely. That tiny gesture reveals the truth about what he really left behind. Because on this road, every small act carries a story worth remembering.